All right, everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the council meeting. I'd like to begin this afternoon, I should say, by standing up for the moment of silence and follow that by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if we could have a roll call, please.
Wayne Barahona.
Here.
Tom Eggers.
Here.
Brad Hinn.
Here.
Ken Snyder.
Here.
Pete Hamill.
It is my understanding that Pete is going to be trying to call in by Zoom, so if he does call in, give us notification or whatever, and we'll let him join. All right, next item up is the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Support.
Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hinn.
Aye.
Barahona.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, we move now into the public forum session of our meeting. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the council at this time? Anyone listening in by Zoom wanting to address the council? Not hearing anything there, so there is going to be opportunity for public comment during the item 6A when we discuss the garbage contracts. If you have something, that would be your time. You can do that when we get to that time on the agenda. So with that, we'll move on then to the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I second.
Is there any questions or comments at this time on anything there? Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hinn.
Aye.
Barahona.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
All right. I have a note here. Sam wrote to me regarding item G under the consent agenda. The wording has been corrected. The attachment is in the attachment. Anything else you want to add there? Or is that's straightforward, right? Okay. That's the license for Brady's Pub. All right, moving on then to new business. We would consider the request from DeCrife Disposal and Schwartz Sanitary Service regarding the downtown recycling container. And the first item under that would be a presentation from the haulers. One of you or both of you intending to address the council? Please step forward to the mic and state your name for the record, please.
Mark at the Correct Disposal. A couple of weeks ago, Sam called me about the recycling box being too full and being dumped 2 or 3 times a week. And he asked us to come up with a solution. And I guess I suggested the following. I'm going to contact all my businesses to see if they'll recycle there, that I can pick it up at their businesses and not bring it to the downtown box. And the residential customers, I'm going to make about 5 places that they can get their recycling schedule. It'll be the KIWA website. It'll be in the Sheldon mail once in a while throughout the year. And the City of Sheldon website. And I'm going to have some schedules available at the city office that they can hand out. And I'm also going to have a Facebook page with the schedule on all the time, and updates or whatever else can go on there. I suggested removing the box for 6 weeks to see if we can promote curbside recycling and encourage the businesses not to use that and to pick up the recycling at their business. Just some information. Last year between Christmas and New Year, that 2-week period, I emptied that box 10 times. So it was dumped every day between them times. And I don't know, I've been hearing the residents don't know this, but they can put out as much recycling as they want. It don't have to fit in their can. If they got big boxes, they can stack all the little stuff in there or whatever, just so it's not scattered all over the front yard, please. And there are 5 places to check out your recycling schedule, and if you still can't figure it out, call me and I'll personally bring you a schedule. That's what I got.
All right.
So,
Any questions for Mark at this time?
The schedules that you're referencing is your current schedule for recycling, correct,
yeah,
Mark?
yeah.
Hello?
I got the recycling and garbage schedule, so it'll be both.
Very good, thank you.
So,
Hold on just a minute. Mark, hello, Pete, welcome. We are on item
Thank you.
6A of our agenda. Mark from Decrive Disposal addressing the council at this point, just to bring you up to speed there a little bit.
Mark, as you are the one that empties this bin, are you able to ascertain where this stuff is coming from? And I say that because I hear a lot of people, a lot of speculation that there's stuff coming from out of town or coming from, like rural areas and stuff that are coming into town. Is that anything you can comment on?
when I do dump it, I see cars from Lyon County, Osceola County, Sioux County, dump stuff there. That's not saying they're coming into town and working or spending money here, dumping in there. And I do see some business stuff in there, once in a while, but for the most part, whoever dumps in there does a good job. There's very, very little garbage in there, so that's a plus, so.
So then, could you maybe go a little bit more in depth into the kind of what you're thinking in regards of the commercial recycling aspect? Are you thinking of doing cans like what you do for trash, and then have that part of the regular route, or what do you think?
Yeah, I can do cans, or if they need more than that, I can do dumpsters. I can do whatever they need. So, and since this got out, I've had probably 4 or 5 businesses start recycling at their place, and I've had probably close to a dozen people around town start recycling that always brought it up here too, whether they bought a big recycling can or just wanted to know their dates or whatever. So it is working, I guess, but so.
We pay for it with our residential, right?
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
business, if they get a dumpster, you will
Yeah, they'll
want a
have
little
to-
extra fee or something?
Right, I don't get charged to dump it, but I gotta have something to,
Right.
my time and stop and whatever, so, yeah, there'll be a little fee, it's not much, but, so.
Mark, in your proposal, you had indicated you're willing to possibly have the container by your shop?
Yeah,
Is that still the case?
I would entertain that, on a trial basis, I think me and Sam talked about. I'm a little worried that my place is gonna be a drop-off for everything, and I don't want that, so.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I'm willing to try it, if that's what you guys decide, so.
Okay.
And I see the headlines today, the haulers want to get rid of that recycle box. That's not the case. We were asked to come up with a solution that it wouldn't be so full all the time, and I suggested getting rid of it for 6 weeks to give the people a chance to get a schedule, get on schedule, instead of using that so much, so. We're not trying to get rid of the box, so I know people think that's what we're doing, we're not, so.
Okay, good.
Mark, how much does it cost to empty that?
$75. So,
And you're doing that, was it 4 to 5 times a week?
no, twice a week.
Oh, okay.
Over Christmas and New Year's, I dumped it
More.
every day.
Okay.
So plus there is a half a box sitting outside, every day too, so. that's another thing, if the box is full, if they please wouldn't set the stuff outside, 'cause if it gets wet, it's hard to pick up, the wind blows every day, so, and I don't have no place to go with it, why, the box is gone, so if I take the box, when I get back here, it's a mess, so, from blowing around.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's completely gone, so I don't know where it ends up, but, so, if they would not put anything on the outside of the box.
Okay. Any other questions?
So that 75, is that full rate?
No, that's probably about 30% less than what I usually get, so, and we just raised that a couple of years ago, otherwise, since we had it, I did it for $60, I went up $15, probably 3-4 years ago, maybe,
And if you were, what would the full rate be, you figure?
it'd be 110.
110, so I guess in essence, you're kind of subsidizing this as well.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess, so.
Your time's worth something,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you know,
so.
we got the box, I think that was, an issue years ago from not recycling every week, so we got the box, so, you know, because they did that, spent the money on the box, I did it at a discount rate, and I still am.
Sure. And that's how many years now?
I think 2011 they got it, took 10 years,
I thought it was 10, yeah.
Okay.
but I know last year it was a little over 7,000 to dump it, and right now we're over 5, so we're gonna do that probably this year, so, which isn't a good thing, but,
No.
so.
Anyone else? All right, Mark, thanks for your input. Jeff, anything you'd like to say?
Jeff Swartz, Swartz Sanitation. My biggest thing is Swartz Sanitation has never had anything to do with the roll-off dumpster out there. And that's the way we want to keep it. There's no reason for us to do anything with it. Mark unloads it, the city decided on. As for web pages, I think my sister can explain that.
I'm Janice Chapin.
Get up there!
About that? You got it muted?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, good. Go ahead, sorry about that.
I'm Janice Chapin, Jeff's sister, and I'm the secretary for Swartz Sanitary Service.
Uh-huh.
We're working on a website and a Facebook page. I want to have it done by the end of the month, but it might be into October. Our biggest problem right now is people calling. They don't have a big enough container. So we tell them you can have as much garbage as you, or as much recycling as you want. It can be in anything that you want it to be in. And so I don't know if we need to address that more, that people don't really know that they can have more than one can of recycling. That's the biggest problem right now, because we'll pick up 5 cans of recycling a night for one person if that's what they have.
You do not use the automatic dumper for...
Not for recycling. We don't yet.
Okay. Is the
I
desire to
don't
move in
know.
that direction?
I don't think we will for our recycling.
Okay.
So, the
Okay.
garbage, yes.
Mm-hmm.
1 can for garbage, but they can have as much. That's the phone calls I get
I
when
see.
I return calls. They don't know what to put it in, and so I tell them they can even put it in a garbage bag or a box or whatever.
So a garbage bag would be okay?
Yes, for recycling.
Didn't know if the bags were messed with the recycling part of it, or if they just
Clear bag.
They've never said anything
Okay.
to us about that. So, whether, Mark, have they ever said anything it had to be? No, they never said anything about that, so. Because I put out, a lot of times I bought an extra big, like our blue cans. I have that recycling, and I have a small recycling and bags.
Okay.
So you can have as much as you want of recycling. And I don't think people realize that. They think, you know, one can is all they can have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we emphasized that so much on the garbage side that we
But they
didn't
only
really
can-
address the
Right.
recycling part of that. So that's good information.
Right.
So,
Are you in agreement that, what do you think of I mean, I'm assuming this is something you've consulted together on, but as far as taking it away for 6 weeks, to me, that has some merit in terms of creating a new habit for people. Right now, it's there, that's how we do it.
Right,
If
right.
it's not there, you do it
Yeah.
for a few weeks, it becomes becomes
I
habit, the
think
way you do
it would be good to try it. We have lost one customer already from uptown because our recycling is on Sunday nights, and they didn't want one
I
so
see.
far.
I see.
So hopefully, 50 years now, so hopefully we're not going to lose people.
what do you do for business recycling? Do you,
If they want it, they can, you know, deny it. They basically got it on Sunday night.
Jeff, could you come forward again? So just. Oh. All right.
so Jeff, I mean, do you have, if I was a business owner and I approached you about doing it, you have a program and how much it costs me and all that? Is that in place?
Right now, we don't charge anything for business,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
just pick it up.
It just comes right with whatever your...
With
I
your,
guess I look at it,
with your normal garbage?
Yeah.
Okay.
if your business recycling, you're gonna have less garbage, so I just charge the
Okay, very good.
Tom, for example, I have Swartz at my business, and Sunday night, I go down there when I check the store, and I put out my recycling, the cardboard, and
Okay.
and they pick it up. So it's just a matter of doing it.
All right.
You know.
Okay.
When we started this, it was for residential only, I mean, and a business that wanted to contact us.
Right.
So that's why we moved to Sunday, because
Yeah.
residential,
Okay.
not knowing that doing the city, the businesses would be, that's why.
Right. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions for either of the Schwartz? No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for our turn to discuss based on what we've heard presented and what we have in our packets.
So I'm going to lead, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of the issues that started this whole discussion, Sam's concern about the volume of recycling going through the container out here, is directly related to an incident that happened when Love Inc. couldn't take cardboard anymore. And everyone, both business and residential, were trying to figure out, and city, we're trying to figure out how we were going to deal with that. And so we came up with the idea of putting the dumpster out here to help with that effort. I think we're still trying to figure that out. And I don't think we all have the answer yet, exactly what's the best way to do that. So I appreciate the proposal by both haulers as far as relocating the dumpster, but I'm not really sure that that's really the answer yet. So what I don't want to do is to get the cart ahead of the horse here on this a little bit. I think we need more time to communicate with the haulers and collaborate with them to figure out a long-term plan that works for everybody, and then put that in front of the council and the community and move forward with it. So it would be my wish that we just leave the container right where it's at, continue on with it, but really focus on this issue so that when the contracts come due, we've got an answer to this thing, and we're all in lockstep with it. Otherwise, we're going to, I think we're going to cause more chaos than cure in this. So that's my 2 cents on this.
Anyone else want to weigh in?
I had one kind of an odd, you buy a 65-inch TV or something, a $1,000 saw, you put the box out front, and it's kind of advertising what you have in your garage. And I had a concern because there are people that look and watch. When you do it at your home, you're advertising. Now that was brought up. You can take it from there, discuss, but I think we're supposed to talk to our constituents, and they tell us their feelings. So you can throw that in the mix for what it's worth.
Jan, if you could come forward again. We had it recorded, and we get it.
I would say in that instance, break the box down.
Mm-hmm.
Break it all down and have the TV part on the inside, and then people won't know what you're having. It's just a matter of breaking. I work at school and we have lots of recycling. We just break the boxes down so it fits in the dumpster better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a thought.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to more or less legislate an action to, or legislate something to initialize action amongst the citizens. So I guess the question comes down to is this the most effective way, I mean, to, I don't know, whether to incentivize our citizens to recycle, or are we punishing them for not recycling? I guess I can see how us having to pay for this is not certainly not something that I'm all about, but at the same time we are fixing issues from the past, and that's fine. But I think that we need a option more than just, oh, we're going to take this away from you now, so you better shape up, otherwise you're not going to get your toy back. And maybe that's what it takes. Do people need, you know, a smack upside the back of the head to say, hey, learn how to do this, let's do this, because we need to all work together in lockstep, as Tom said. I think that in whichever direction that we take this, we need to be moving forward in not only the enforcement part, but the education part, and making sure that we're able to do this, because, you know, we've got the numbers. Sam has shared spreadsheets with us that show the tonnage, and it has gone up, so we know we're recycling. We know that people are energized and incentivized to do this. So how can we make this happen? How can we best make this happen, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Would one option be removing this container down here and have the haulers have a dumpster at both of their places for their own customers to dump the extra? So if a resident has extra garbage, if they're a Swartz customer, they take it to Swartz and put it in the dumpster at his place, and if they're DeChrist, they take their recycling and put it in a dumpster at their yard. And then we can handle the overflow. And then have that gone for the 6 weeks period and 3 months and whatever, and see if that increases the residential recycling curbside.
Yes.
The only problem I have with that is because it's my house.
Todd.
The only problem I have with that is my residence is where the trucks are stored. So I guess I don't want Joe Blow coming on my yard, just like,
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, you know, we've talked about, you know, different potential locations and stuff like that. The fact of the matter is there's always going to be people that abuse it, and who should be responsible for cleaning that up, I think, is going to be part of the question.
And if you have, each one of the haulers has it, then each one is responsible for their own customers. That way, if you put the container at Gertler, he's gonna get all the customers going, dumping recycling there. That's a thought I had. I had some other people in the community share those thoughts. Because I don't think they want it to go away.
Yeah, and I've heard the same. I think that, you know, I guess I'm worried that, you know, that it's going to be, you've got Jeff's residence, and then you've got a Gertler's lot, which is, you know, north of town, very easy out of view. I wouldn't want to turn that into a dumping ground for either of them. I mean, it's bad enough out here right next to the police station, let alone away from prying eyes. So I worry a little bit about having those outside of a central location.
You know, I think the discussion is early in the community and within the council, and there are all kinds of ideas that we need to consider and analyze and evaluate. And I think we should do that. I just don't think that, I think we can do that without having to change everything right now in order to do that. If we want to, improve curbside pickup on recycling, then let's start talking about how we should do that. And if we should communicate to our customers and community that if you put it out in front of your house, it'll get picked up. And then when it gets picked up, then they know they got an answer. It's done. And we haven't really done that formally. And I think we have opportunity to do that to a greater extent. I would rather do that and be more measured than to kind of upset the apple cart right now until we really have a full answer. And I'm not saying that I know what the answer is yet, but that's the issue. We don't know what the answer is yet, so. But we have time to figure it out.
I have a question for the haulers. Have either of you ever seen a container like that where you have to pay? I mean, whether it's a $1 worth of quarters, like, you know, when you go to the car wash, you drop in your credit card or whatever, that you could charge to dump in there.
the only thing I've ever seen is when we're traveling, it's that the city actually has buildings that they bring it to. People are hired to work there,
Oh.
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
City
Yeah.
shell doesn't.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So we have options for consideration. Tom has taken more of the wait and see approach. What is the desire of the council at this time? Pete, did you want to weigh in on this at all? Pete, are you still with us? Still with us? Oh,
He's showing muted yet. There you go.
Hello.
yeah, there, you're with us now.
I'm trying to, well, it's been cutting in and out terribly, so.
Okay.
I guess, assuming you can hear me,
We can.
I'm trying to figure out why we want to do a temporary Band-Aid for this thing. I wish we had a more permanent plan before we started doing different kinds of actions. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
So you're kind of in the, where, coming from where Tom is at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I make a motion to go with Tom's until we come up with a better solution?
Okay. Do you want that stated? Some more detail?
A little bit, please.
Okay.
You don't need action to change the status quo, 'cause that's
I just leave it the way it is and then have them negotiated during their new contracts next.
But we do need to, I think Tom's saying, continue to address the issue, I mean,
Yeah,
study
you
it.
know, I'm saying, you know, let's not just make a change right now for change's sake, but I'm not also being not proactive. We need to proactively address this because we need to get it figured out. And I think we can do that by contract time is what my hope is, so. And if we can continue the education part right away, I think that's the first good step. Then I think we need to wrestle on the options and work with the haulers in identifying what's feasible, bring that to the public and let the public input go from there. So.
And I think just even sitting here during this council meeting, I've lived in this town 15 years, and, I just now figured out that I could put my recycling out there in a garbage bag. I didn't think you could. So I think there might be a lot of either misinformation or lack of information out there. So I would like to see, maybe from the city's end, ramping up maybe a little bit of advertisement on rules and regs, why it's, what can make recycling easy to try and incentivize it and realize like, hey, no, it's not just, you don't have to peel every label off your can. You can just have, just split it, stuff that you can and stuff you can't. And then, if we can have kind of a guide and reference and just keep hitting that point over and over again until it becomes a habit, just like anything else.
Good idea, Wayne, but I think the garbage haulers need to be part of it also. I
I
don't
think
think
so.
the city's 100% responsible for promoting it. I think it also has to come from the haulers also.
Well, I use the city because since we're using city dollars to pay for the dumpster, if we could spend that money that we would be paying to empty the dumpster into education so that we don't have to, money that it would be well spent, I would think.
I think we heard this afternoon, both of them willing to do that. I don't think there's any pushback on that. And I think that Brad's correct. This isn't just a city issue. It's a city hauler and community issue. So I think I'm assuming everyone's okay with that. Seeing head nods, so I agree with that. So let's figure out how we're going to do that together and get on the path to that, so.
So we table this for now then, and come back again in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, a month? We need to have some sense of direction of where we want this to go, I think. Because if it's the status quo, as Mike has said, and it stays the same, nothing's going to change.
Right.
Well, I think if we give it I would say if we could give it till November, so we'd have a better sense of how we're doing as we head into the holiday season, then that'll help us, make an informed decision before we're, our hand is being forced with, all the holiday refuse and recycling that comes.
Someone talked about the contract. When is that negotiated?
That would be next year.
Sam, go ahead.
The two contracts expire in July of next year.
We need something before then.
So September 15th now, I'd say by November 15th. Give it 2 months.
But also it does, by budget discussion time, we really need to have some kind of an idea where this is going to, not?
Well, I would really like to have the the outline of the contract's completed within the next few months.
Yeah,
And-
I guess I wasn't, I guess I wasn't speaking
So-
from the contract end. I guess it was more, discussion on what we are doing with that bin, but I guess I see your point, how that all does tie together. So, then I guess from a contract standpoint, what would you would prefer within a month that we revisit this to determine how things are going to be moving forward, or what is your sentiment, Sam?
Well, there's a couple of ways that this could play out. One would be we pick one of the options that's on the docket today and move forward with that, and then assume that, or hopefully that will go well, and we'll see an uptick in the curbside recycling and the commercial recycling for that. But another option would be is I put the contract on the agenda with an outline of how we move forward. And as your lead negotiator, I would, and I've already said this to the haulers, that I, especially having come from a town that had weekly recycling, and I lived here for more than a year before I knew I could put a cardboard box on the ground. And so, my starting position would be, I want weekly recycling. So I would like to have weekly recycling unless there's another set of options that you, the haulers, bring forward. So from my standpoint, this is a fairly, I'm a fairly transparent person, so you know where I'm at on this. This is a fairly easy negotiation. So I really appreciate the haulers coming up with some ideas. But out of this discussion, I think the next step is October 6th or October 20. Probably October 20 is better because we have some hearings on October 6th, but October 20, I put the contracts on the agenda, and the haulers' positions, and we have a public discussion on the contracts and what you would like to see with that. And then in between time, Wayne, we may see a major effort, and I offered the haulers, I'm willing to see if we can print get them a list where they could do mailing labels and help get the information out to their customers. We have done some advertising, paid advertising, that I've done using the D&D, the Demolition Disposal Fund, to help get the schedules out. But I don't know that I want to do too much. I don't mind doing some of that, but I believe it needs to be in tandem to, with what the haulers are doing.
So getting back to what you said when we're talking about dates and contracts, is it your intention that we decide on a contract on October 25th?
No.
But
I think I think we see how the next month goes with the haulers' stepped up efforts to help get the word out on curbside and business recycling. And if I were in their shoes, I would encourage them to call every single business that they serve and offer them a dumpster, and try to help make a dent in what we're seeing. And then by October, we can revisit. Now, if I were in their shoes, I would say, well, I'm not really responsible for people from out of town coming and dumping in the container. Well, that's something that we're going to need to address. But we will still see, I think, a significant difference if all of the businesses that they serve that have room for a container would get one, and not have them coming here anymore. And if they would be willing to go door to door, do a mailing to their customers and tell them what their curbside options are. And I can help. We can do some on our website. I'm willing to do some advertising. I mean, our cleanup day participation is enormous next week, much to a little bit of chagrin of the folks here at the city that need to pick it up. But we have an enormous participation because of the advertising that we've done in local media. And that helps the haulers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Sam, to use the contract as the catalyst for the communication, further communication and discussion on this issue. So if you were to put it on the 20th, October 20th agenda, I think it'll do that then. So.
And I've had a number of people ask for weekly recycling in my conversations over the last week.
We go to weekly recycling. I've done the math. I've done the math on it. If we go to weekly recycling, it'd have to be at least a $5 increase in what people pay right now. Right now, each
Monthly?
customer...
That would be monthly?
Monthly.
Yeah.
Each customer right now pays $18. You take the $1.50 that the city takes, so that's $16.50. You go by everybody's house 6 times a month. So you take that, and it comes up to $2.75 that I get every time I go by somebody's house. Take that $2.75 and times that, times the 8 times we'd be going by, and it would be like $23.50 to have curbside recycling, to keep our profit at $2.75.
Yeah, I think that's,
I'm not against it, but I'm just saying, I'm not gonna pay for it,
Right.
you know?
Right.
If the city wants to have, last month, I had 280 people recycle out of 810. So if you raise rates to $23.50, 500 people are gonna be upset. So I guess if you wanna put it in the contract, to do the contract, in the contract, there's nothing that says we have to even do businesses. It says for residential premises. We go out of our way to do the businesses. Not gonna deny a business, but I'm not gonna put a $700 dumpster for 20 businesses. I'm sorry, I can't afford that. I'll make arrangements with anybody who wants to, but I'm not gonna buy dumpsters.
But there's communities in the area that have weekly recycling.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rates are, but there are
Yeah,
communities in the town, in
And
the
that's,
area
yeah, that's kind of the
that
the
have
big
weekly
question.
recycling.
Mark, any thoughts?
I think people just need to be educated.
Can you come up here, Mark? That way Pete can hear you. And those watching.
I'm not sure what the answer is. I think people just need to be educated what they can put out, how much, and just get their schedule and just put it out. That's all we're asking, I guess. I mean, last year I stopped at every house that I serve and brought them a schedule. So, and people were thankful about that, and they used it, and my recycling increased a lot from doing that, so maybe I'll have to do that again, I don't know. It's a lot of messing around, but if that's what I gotta do, then that's what I'll do, so, but.
Are your numbers in terms of your customers that recycle, are they similar to what Jeff was relaying?
Truthfully, I got my Tuesday route's bigger, and on the Tuesday route, I got a lot of people that recycle. And I usually get between 2.5 to just about 4 ton of recycle a week. That's my businesses too, it's not all the houses, but.
So-
And the money route is smaller, and there's a lot of people that recycle on that too. In the last 2 or 3 years, there's a lot of people that started recycling. So I've had a major increase in recycling.
Okay.
So,
Jeff, what were the numbers you said? 280 out of how many?
280 out of 810. One route had 200 customers and the other route had 8.
So
And there's 70 customers difference.
30-odd%,
Some,
roughly.
I think 31.
Okay.
What my numbers.
And how much roughly, do you have any idea?
I would say over half of them on
Over
the
half.
Tuesday route, and probably not quite half on the Monday route.
So in the town of Sheldon, less than 50% of people are recycling. Between the two of you, we've got less
I
than
would
50%
say
Yes,
so.
I'd say that.
at curbside anyway.
Right.
They may be recycling in the bin here, that may, increase some. I still think, my thought is, back to the creatures of habit thing, as long as that dumpster is there, why change my ways? I'm used to doing it this way, it's not a big deal, I do it on the way to work, and the dumpster's gonna continue to be used here.
And it may be exactly that tomorrow. But as we go ahead and communicate, I think that people will understand that we're working towards getting rid of that with another answer that's more feasible. And if I know that, then that is part of the motivation as well. So,
Okay.
I know this. I can attest this for a fact, that I won't be putting any more cardboard in that dumpster out there after today. It'll be put on the curbside, and my hauler will pick it up. That I can attest to. And if everyone else who's listening in the community attests to doing the same thing, then we're a long ways towards having the answer to this. So if you don't want to have to pile it all up, put it in your car and pick up and haul it all the way down here and dump it, and all you have to do is go to your curbside and do that, you may want to think about that. That's kind of a win-win situation, I think. So, but anyway, I can only speak for myself, so.
All right. You know what you have to do?
I think so.
All right, let's move on. Thank you, haulers, for your input and your work. We appreciate it. You bet.
Thank you.
As I flip the page, is there any other public input? Before we move on, I'm going to give that opportunity. Is there anybody else that wants to address the council publicly at this time? Seeing no one, so we will move forward then to item B, the 2021 street improvements, certified pay estimate number 5. Sam or Todd, any comments on that?
Just the amount of $192,081.26. Overall, the project is going okay. I've got a little frustration with the contractor right now. They haven't been on the project near as much as I would like to see them. I know what's happening. Our project is winding down. They're ramping up on another one. They're sending workforces there, but some of the cleanup stuff and the stuff they need to get done here is lacking. So we've been putting a little pressure on them to, hey, don't forget about us and what you need to finish here. But other than that, product-wise, I'm happy with what's going on. They paved the intersection of Pine and 5th, or the east half of it today. Supposed to pave the other half tomorrow. So, making some progress.
Do we just hold it till our meeting in October?
This work is for work done.
And this is not a final payment yet either, is it?
No, it's nowhere close to a final payment. We're holding 5% of everything. And I don't think legally it'd be a good idea to hold $192,000.
No.
Okay.
I recommend payment.
Okay.
Just a
Any other
question.
questions?
No, that's fair.
I'll make the motion to approve pay request number 5.
Support.
Further discussion?
Wait a second. Todd, did they say when they're coming back for seating?
No, I had that discussion with the on-site inspector today, and I got the same song and dance I've been getting for a while, which is the seating contractor from a ways away, subcontractor, and they're trying to do it in one shot, but they're running out of their seating window. So I very much encouraged him to pass along to the contractor that we wanted him to come back here and at least get the stuff that's been done. I mean, some of the paving is done since June. And now that we're in September, we're getting good seating weather. Let's try to get that done at least by the first week in October. So I have not heard a response back from the contractor yet, but I did ask. Again, I've been told, well, you force them. No, that's not how contracts work. We can encourage them to come. They know what the contract language is. There's penalties if they don't get their work done. We can remind them of them, we can encourage them to come to work, but I can't go twist their arm or grab their ear and drag them over here and say, see.
Yeah, they know they have a window too, Todd.
They do, they absolutely do. It's in the specifications and it's been discussed with them.
I mean, it's not going to be financially advantageous for them to come late just to put seed down that have to come back next spring to do it again.
No, and the way the contract is written, they're responsible for that seed if it doesn't produce within the first 12 months.
That's my
after
point.
seeding anyway. So the only downside is if we wait much longer, you will get into a scenario where you might be better off to dormant seed.
Right.
Which is a little more risky, but I've also seen some pretty good results from as well. So the trouble I have right now is the weed control and the people that are getting sick of looking at dirt, you know, unfinished final grade out front after the street's been done.
And I'm sure we're communicating with them that we're striving to get this finished and all
The
that.
people that call, yes. I
Yeah.
mean, we're telling them that we're leaning on the contractor. We've got a couple of them who offered up if I give them the phone number, that they'd make some phone calls.
Excellent. Okay.
Refrain from that.
Okay.
Anyone else? Is Pete muted right now?
Pete is not on the line.
Okay. All right. Then we have a motion
And
Yep.
second.
and a second. Roll call, please.
Snyder.
Aye.
Farahona.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
All right, next item up, update on the Lewis and Clark project. Todd, you're up again.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, we talked about where the Lewis Clark project is at construction-wise, and what I'd like to discuss today is where Lewis and Clark could go and the city of Sheldon could go with them in the future. Not sure how many of you are aware of this or not, but when Lewis and Clark was authorized, it was well known that at someday there would want to be an expansion. Some of the rural water projects in the early days, when I say the early days, the 70s, when water really got started, they were built for the 70s and not built for the 90s, so then they ended up all overhauling the system. So one good thing that the federal government did with Lewis and Clark is they approved a treatment plant that could handle 45 million gallons a day in their authorized project, but they allowed us to put piping in that would handle up to 60 million gallons a day. So what I'm talking about now is the expansion of Lewis and Clark from 45 million gallons a day to 60 million gallons a day. The reason we're talking about it right now is twofold. Number one, as we all know, the authorized project was supposed to be completed a long time ago. So we are talking about an expansion. We really should have been receiving water, 12, 15 years ago. It would seem crazy to be talking about expansion. Number two, there is, we've realized with our engineering staff, Lewis and Clark engineering staff, that there is some efficiencies in awarding the fifth solids contact basin and second gravity thickener at the same time as the fifth solid basin. So the sixth basin and the second thickener, if we award those contracts at the same time as the fifth basin, we think there's a significant cost saving to Lewis and Clark, which ultimately results in a cost saving to 20 members. So we would like to bid that together to realize those savings. If Sheldon were to participate in the expansion to 60 million gallons, what that would mean for Sheldon is a reserve capacity of 2.056 million gallons a day instead of the current signed-on capacity of 1.3 million gallons a day. So an additional 756,000 gallons a day. To be quite honest with you, Sheldon does not need 2,056,000 gallons a day right now. But we will in the future. It's my belief we will definitely need that water in the future. We have a well field, a shallow well field. This number is going to be maybe a little bit of a shock to some. We have a shallow well field that's producing 50% the water that it was 20 years ago or 21 years ago when I started working with the city. So a reduction of 50% of our shallow well capacity. It's not if, it's a matter of when we won't have shallow well. And you could easily say, well, just go drill more, except for DNR regulation prevents us from drilling more without expending billions into our treatment plant. It would require a complete remodel of our treatment I don't believe that makes sense when we're already signed on to a regional water project that we can simply add on to, especially when you consider water quality issues that come along with it. So something to keep in mind about the expansion. There are frustrations with the pace that Lewis and Clark is constructing. And the majority of those frustrations are because federal funding is coming much slower than what we have all hoped. I hope that this infrastructure bill will help us get that cleaned up and finished up here in short order. But the expansion has no federal dollars in it. So there won't be a withhold of money. When 11 of the 20 members, assuming all 20 participate, I can tell you that all 20 board members are going to recommend to their governing bodies that they participate in the expansion, myself included. When 11 of those 20 say it's time to build the expansion, that's when it'll happen, because all 20 members will have to pony up their cash then at that time. So if you're concerned about a delay, or if you hear concerns about a delay of construction for the expansion, we're not talking apples to apples with the existing project. I think it's important that everybody understands. What else do I want to talk about the expansion? Let's talk about costs a little bit. As of right now, the expansion is, in today's dollars, about a $114 million project. In today's dollars, Sheldon's cost of that would be $4.232 million in today's dollars. Now that won't be the real number, because the real number will be based on construction costs at the time it happens. So whether that happens in 2025, 2027, or 2032, right, will have a net effect on what those dollars actually. What the Lewis and Clark board is looking for right now from the members is a thumbs up or thumbs down on whether or not you want to participate or take your slice of the pie of this water. And we talked about in the boardroom, how do we go about that? And there was a fairly strong feeling that every member that said yes needed to have some skin in the game, some money at the table to say, hey, I'm. So where we came up with the skin in the game is of your water percentage of the engineering fees for the first phase of the expansion. So the engineering for the first phase is like $800,000. Our percentage of that would be $30,375. So if we say yes to this here in the next month, I don't expect you to say yes to this tonight. I just want to have a discussion and let you know where we're at. That there's copies of the expansion agreement in your packet. We can read through them and talk through them over the next month. But if you say yes to this prior to the end of this year, Sheldon would be required to pay a deposit of $30,375. We wouldn't be asked for more money until the construction was slated to start. That's how it's set up. Then we as a Lewis and Clark board then know who's all in. Does that say that somebody couldn't pull out later? No, they could. They would just forfeit whatever money they had paid up to that point. And then there would be an opportunity for that water to essentially go on the market between the other 19 members. The assumption is, it's not a guarantee, but the assumption is someone will pick up that capacity and then pick up that bill. If by chance, and I find this highly unlikely, somebody backed out and their percentage of water was not picked up, there is a scenario where you could have to pay more without receiving extra water, right? If that cost went away, then that member's cost would be split up. And just, I guess, in closing, and then I'll stand for questions, it's in my opinion that participation in this agreement by Sheldon, it's not a question, it's a must. I think we need this water. We have a declining well field when it comes to shallow wells. We have much capacity in our deep wells. It's not good water, it's very hard. Our deep wells are 75 grains hard-ish, and Lewis and Clark water is 9 grains hard. I can tell you that trying to promote that industry, if I'm Chris Trout, it's going to be a lot easier with 9 grain water than it is 75 grain water. water we're putting out of the door right now of our treatment plant is about 52 because we're blending our shallows and our deep. And our shallow wells are about 24. Anyways, we don't need the water today. We will need the water down the road, and we have a declining well. We're already in. I think we need to continue. If we have extra water, that would be a welcome problem. And if we have extra water, I think the task at hand for someone like myself or Sam, together as a team, would be to market some of that water and try to sell some of that water on short-term contracts so that we can keep our costs down to our ratepayers, but still hold that water for the future. I will tell you there are Lewis and Clark members that are looking at selling off their expansion water or portions of their expansion water for very long terms. I personally think that would be a terrible decision for Sheldon because we'd be investing in a future resource and then giving it away to somebody else. I don't think that makes sense. So I'll leave it at that for now and stand for any questions.
All right, gentlemen, anything you'd like to ask Todd or comment on?
It's a precious commodity, and it's quantity and quality, and I think we need to look hard at looking into this expansion.
Yeah, I would echo those thoughts. You know, we look back on the course of the Lewis and Clark project, and you know, think about that council low those many years ago that thought, boy, we're never, you know, that's going to be forever before it gets here, and we're never going to use that much water. Well, here we are. So let us, you know, continue that that spirit forward with making sure that we are providing our future selves with a good water supply and water source.
Of the 20 members, how many are hooked up and pumping water each day now?
15.
And that Sioux Center will soon be, I mean, the pipeline is there.
So the last piece of pipe, I reported 2 weeks ago that the last piece of pipe was going to go in the following day. Rain prohibited that, but the last piece of pipe went in the ground to connect Iowa to South Dakota. Sioux Center is scheduled to receive water. Sioux Center and Hull are scheduled to receive water in early 2022. The reason for the delay there, the pipe actually is in the ground now, but the Beersford Water Tower needs to be completed and a booster station needs to be completed before water can go down that pipeline too. I mentioned last meeting that there was 13 easements between Hull and Sheldon. There are now 18 easements. And like I said before, Lewis and Clark is opening bids on September 21st for a water tower to be built 3 miles west of Sheldon, 1 million gallons.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Just patience. And like I said, it wasn't our fault, it wasn't local, it was all federal.
You know, if we'd have started receiving this water in 2012 or 2013 when we first anticipated receiving it, and I sat here today in this room and asked you for an expansion, probably wouldn't seem as crazy as it does. I'm asking you to participate in the expansion before we receive the crop. And I understand that that seems tough, but I'm asking you to think to 2030, 2050, and beyond, and set our community up for success later and not failure. Because with water, there's someday, I believe, it's going to be the have and the have-nots. And we certainly don't want to be the have-not. There's examples of that across the United States right now.
Yeah, this has definitely been a project of vision for a long time, and no need to abandon vision for the future either. Appreciate the presentation on that, Todd. When would you like to get this on the agenda for a decision with us?
So I'm actually going to be gone on October 6th, so my thought was October 20th. That gives a month for discussions today to be had. For people to comment, I guess if they feel differently, I would like to get the contract approved on the October 20th.
When would we need to pay on that then, once a decision is made?
Once the decision is made, Lewis and Clark will bill the members. The deadline is January, I think it's January 3, 2022.
Okay. Yeah. So we just have to make sure that we have funding available for that bill when it comes?
We would have to fund the $30,000 somewhere out of the water fund, which is not too hill of a, or not too steep a climb.
Okay.
No. And then, you know, in Exhibit B, if you look in the contract in Exhibit B, I think it's on like page 13, it gives an estimated construction schedule, but that really could change based on the infrastructure. And it also could change. Phase 1 of the expansion could happen fairly early because we want to take advantage of building the 6th basin and 2nd thickener with the 5th basin. Phase 2 will not happen until 11 members say yes. And if you'd have asked the board of directors in February when they thought the expansion was going to be needed, I think most of them would have said several years down the road. You ask that same group of 20 members after the drought we've been through in the summer and the usage that Sheldon experienced, many of the connected members experienced, and I think you're looking at an expansion much sooner. I think you're looking at an expansion as soon as the 45 MGD project is complete. You could see expansion in the 2020s.
So October 20th is the date that will be on the agenda then?
Yes.
Okay.
Assuming everybody agrees. Mainly the mayor. I've heard he sets the agenda.
Have a question, Todd.
Yep.
You talked about the hardness.
Yep.
What do you think our hardness will get down to? What will you be blending? I know it's hypothetical, but...
Yeah, so we have some money in our current budget to discuss with the DGRs who I plan to utilize with, discussing with them what blend is going to be right for Sheldon. So there's a few considerations. The way Lewis and Clark rate structure is set up, the more water of theirs you use, the lower your effective rate is. All right? We can still produce water, though, that we have a little cheaper than purchasing Lewis and Clark, so that's an important factor. The other two factors are, what do our people want, right? How soft a water do they want? Are they willing to pay a little more for a higher quality? Some of the businesses that you want. The last one, and the one that I need to get the number on, is we have in our current permit from the DNR at the wastewater plant, we have a chloride limit. We didn't used to. We got a chloride limit, and it says you may not, discharge over X, I forget what parts per million is, so much chloride into the Floyd River. It's illegal. There's not a way to remove chlorides. You have to reduce the source. The way to reduce the source is to turn down or shut off water softeners. So we need to find out what number we need to get down to with Lewis and Clark blend to meet our chloride limit, and that would be a minimum. And then we could only go better from there. If we blended, and I'll use a really hypothetical scenario here, if we left our deep wells off and could get the DNR to permit them as emergency backups only, and we blended Lewis and Clark with our shallow wells at something like 75 Lewis and Clark, 25 shallow well blend, we could be around 50.
So even if you want half, that's gonna, the longevity on water heaters, water mains, water pipes is gonna be tremendous.
Absolutely, and Brad, to your point, while the rate will be up, there'll be some savings to the customer, right? If you only have to regenerate half as much, you're not wasting that. If you're a business that pre-treats your water, it's going to save you there. The usage is going to go down. Now, how much that usage is going to go down community-wide, I don't know. I don't have that crystal ball. I wish I did.
Okay, thanks.
But we'll get that number. That number is important. I haven't started working on that, but it needs to happen over the next 6 months.
You used the term a little while ago, the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
Which category do you put Sheldon in at this point?
Have-nots. Yeah, or have very littles. I'll make a third category, have very littles.
I would feel, there's the back of my mind, and we've talked about this nagging thing, until that water is here, we're a have-not. And you used the word hopefully at one point in terms of the funding, and if, and all these words, and it ain't here yet.
You're not wrong, Rick.
How convinced are you it is going to be here by 2024 or beyond? I mean, we waited,
Building a water tower.
Yeah, I mean,
they're bidding on a water tower. It's not built yet.
I don't know what to tell you, Greg, other than this. There's pipeline in Iowa. There's pipeline constructed all the way to Hull, Iowa, right? Started in Vermillion, all the way to Sioux Falls, all the way to Worthington, South Dakota. We have easements between Sioux Falls and Madison, South Dakota. We're working on easements between Hull, Iowa and Sheldon, Iowa. It's coming as soon as the funding is here. There's $31 million proposed in the budget right now for the next fiscal year. There's $1 billion for Bureau of Reclamation projects in the infrastructure bill. Bipartisan support for the infrastructure bill. All I can tell you is the facts. I have 100% without a doubt Lewis and Clark will get to Sheldon, Iowa. Would I bet the farm on 2024? No. Because there's a chance for a delay. I couldn't do that. It's already 10 years behind. Right? But I would bet the farm that it's coming. It will be.
Okay.
The federal government has never not completed, this is what I'm told anyway, I haven't done the, don't fact check me on this. It's my understanding they have never not completed a project that they authorized. The 45 million gallon project is authorized. Now, it doesn't say they completed them in the time frame that they promised, but they never not.
Okay. Then we need a motion. Suggestion motion is to bring this forward to the October 20 meeting with the adopting resolution.
So moved.
Support?
Discussion?
I just have one last comment in case you're wondering. This contract is, I don't know, 15, 18 pages long. During it being written, I did have Micah take a look at it, so our attorney has had eyes on the contract, along with about 18 other city attorneys or water attorneys.
So does that mean he needs to speak to it or not?
I don't believe so. I think he's okay with the content.
Good. Good.
All right. Let's take a roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Farahona.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
All right, moving on to reports. Anything from you, Sam? Yes, sir. Todd, anything else?
Yeah, I haven't shut up in a while. I just will keep going. No, just a couple of things. Asphalt Overlay. If you haven't noticed, Asphalt Overlay is in progress. The mill came to town yesterday. We were hopeful that they were going to finish milling all of our streets today. Fortunately, they had an equipment failure, so they'll be back tomorrow morning to finish milling Elm Court and Union Avenue. As of now, I believe the paver is scheduled for next week, Wednesday. We may have to bump that back because with our beloved cleanup day that I think has around 300 stops on it, my staff has some time to get prepared before the paver. That covers that. Sweeper's been out. We'll continue to go out as we get fall and leaves falling. And the last thing I wanted to comment on, I've talked about water conservation over the time, and maybe wanted to let people, make sure that people know that the city is trying to do their part as well. And what I mean by that is, a couple years ago, we entered into a contract where we do a yearly leak survey of city mains and services. This year, we've actually done two. We've done two because we did the one in the spring. We've seen good results. We've actually seen a reduction after we fixed some of the leaks. We saw our consumption was eating back up, so we had them come back in and do a second survey. Found a huge leak down on the intersection of 11th Street and 7th Avenue. So we're trying to do our part to keep our water loss as low as we can. That's all I have.
Okay. Kurt, anything from you? No, thank you. Scott? Ange?
Nothing.
Micah?
No, thank you.
How about council to my left?
I just have one thing on the fire department. On September 25th, on Saturday, we'll be doing our annual required hose testing. So people in the inner square might have discolored water. We'll put out a public announcement here next week about that. We pushed it back from early summer doing it because of the water watch, but it's something we have to do annually, part of NFPA, so it's required, so just wanted to pass that information out.
Okay. Ken? Counsel to my right.
I want to thank the fire department for bringing the trailer in, the HHM trailer. That was a big up for our town to help get rid of some of that stuff and do it properly.
I think like 39 customers, I think they had.
Wow.
But a lot of paint, and a lot of other chemicals. So it was good do it. We'll do it again next year.
That's awesome.
All right, and I have nothing further at this time, so take a motion then that we move into closed session.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Farahona.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
All right.
Goodbye.
Okay, we are back in regular session, and I've asked the attorney to make a statement on our behalf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gentlemen, this is pretty anticlimactic, but at this time, no action's being taken, other than, I presume, to adjourn this meeting, which I do not have authority to do.
I will make a motion that we do that.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Kent.
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Farahona.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Sorry we took an hour and a half of your life.
I have...